Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters for Anfield Index. How good does this feel, ladies and gents? We are talking after Liverpool absolutely battered the reigning champions, Manchester City at Anfield. We are talking 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League. We are talking as we have a perfect record in the Champions League. And David Lynch, there's just so many good things to be talking about right now, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, coming into this week, you just hoped for 2 wins against 2 massive sides and to kind of put that suggestion that Liverpool hadn't played anyone to bed and to do so in such convincing fashion to, put themselves still back top of the Champions League to beat the champions of Europe and then back that up by beating Manchester City, the champions of England, to go 9 points clear in the Premier League and obviously 11 points clear of them. It's just ridiculous kind of dreamland stuff. So, I guess everyone's absolutely buzzing. And the best thing about it is that Liverpool fully deserved what they got out of this week. And they just kind of added more weight to the argument that they themselves are probably the best team in Europe at the moment.
Yeah, no doubts about it at all. And I'll put it on the screen just in case you're watching, ladies and gents. Look at that. An absolute thing of beauty. Hang it in the Louvre, as they say. 34 points at this stage. That is absolutely brilliant. 9 clear of Arsenal, 9 clear of Chelsea, and Manchester City drop into 5th place after yesterday. And I mean, I do want to get into this a little bit with you, David Lynch, but the first thing I really want to play yet is just this clip from Arne Slot, just the first minute, just to think about the performance. Because, again, the maestro just absolutely nails it. So let's hear what he said straight after the game.
And if you look at work rate, I think it was perfect. The amount of chances we missed that made it that it was tight till the end. But yeah. Maybe that's also the nice part of a game like this. It should be like this, but in an ideal world, we would have scored earlier the second one, yes.
Was the plan to go at them right from the start to kind of go for the throat, or does Anfield, with its atmosphere, just almost demand that of you in a game like this?
I think if you watch every game of us, which you probably have done, then you know that we always want to press high. But the thing is, they can do build up very well. They can play the ball out from the back very, very well. So then you have to put a lot of effort in, or you have to take the risk of playing 1v1. But we put a lot of effort in. We forced them to a few mistakes, which led to some chances. That gives us energy. That gives the crowd energy, and that helps, of course, because apart from our players, the crowd was fantastic today as well.
Yeah, the crowd were brilliant. The players were brilliant. And I did want to ask you about this because I know you've wrote about it in your Substack today. There was a real almost contrast of the two halves, but we were brilliant in different ways in both halves, weren't we, yesterday?
Yeah, so as the manager kind of alludes to there, I thought, first half, absolutely, it was that kind of high pressure, Klopp-style football, high turnovers constantly, and that's where most of Liverpool's chances came from, really, is from turning the ball over in high positions. And I thought, I was kind of surprised, actually, that City was so, able to fall into that trap, or it kept happening to them. I thought it was one of the things that they would absolutely wish to avoid coming into this game, but it just kept happening. And then, one happens and then the crowd gets up, as Slot said, and then it was just kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, or a virtuous cycle, I guess, that it kept happening over and over, and Liverpool were just cutting into them. And then that second half, you did see City come back a little bit. They kind of grew into it. But the way that Liverpool managed that was absolutely unbelievable, because I say, City come back into it, but really, yes, they enjoyed a little bit more of the ball, which is absolutely what they would have wanted. And I think that second half finishes with them having around 66% possession to Liverpool's 34%. But they did nothing with it, because Liverpool was so comfortable in saying, okay, well, we are going to manage this in a totally different way. We are going to, we can defend the edge of our box. We will sit in and soak up pressure. And then, when we do that, we are so capable of tearing teams apart on the counter rather than the high press. So just two different sides you saw at Liverpool, and they win the XG comfortably in both halves. They outshoot City in both halves. So it shows that they're kind of equally good at both approaches, which again, unbelievable to see that evidenced in one match and over 2 different 45 minutes, both of which they were the dominant side in totally different ways. But it also says a lot, I think, about why Liverpool are where they are in the league so far this season, because they are so versatile, and that, not necessarily they have to do it within games, but they can be versatile from game to game. And I think that second half where they soaked up pressure and hit on the break, that kind of bodes well when you think about some of the big away games that they've got coming up, that they're able to do that. They don't have to be this high pressing side, or they don't have to dominate possession to win games. They're capable of winning them in different ways. And it just speaks to how good the manager is and how good this team is, that they're able to make those tweaks mid-game and still come out on top. So really, really impressive, and probably the most impressive part of the performance, actually.
Yeah, I did want to ask you about that, because, we were talking a week ago and we talked about the tough tests to come. And we talked about Real Madrid and Manchester City visiting Anfield. We've played those 2 games, an aggregate of 4-0. We've not conceded a single goal against, a gluttony of top-class footballers. But largely, we've controlled those games as well. Do you think people are actually starting to cotton on to the fact that Arne Slot might just be an elite coach who is just absolutely brilliant at his job?
We can only judge, certainly from this perspective, because I think it's hard to look back at his Feyenoord days and really make a sound judgment on that sort of thing. That's for people like Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes to do. For us kind of looking at a surface level, it's difficult. So we can only really judge what we've seen so far. And the fact is, it's not just this ridiculous run in terms of, the results they've been on. So what is it, sort of 17 wins, 1 draw, 1 defeat from 19 games, but it's the fact that they deserved it. Expected goals is, sometimes people don't really like it as a measure, but they've generally won comfortably the XG in every game that they've played. You see for the Real Madrid game, I think they reduced them to basically nothing in expected goals outside of a penalty, similar with City, and then high on the attacking numbers as well. And that tallies with everything you've seen with your eyes. And that's been true of the season as a whole. It doesn't feel like being on a good run that's unsustainable. It feels like the performances are matching the results, or, maybe you'll get a point at which the results kind of have a wobble. But if the performance stays at this level, then Liverpool will win a lot more games than everybody else and will put themselves in contention for the top trophies. And I think that does speak to Slot being an elite coach. Okay, you can say he inherited a good situation and unbelievable foundations from Jurgen Klopp. But to be able to take them and run with them and not have many teething issues at all is just testament to Slot. So he's doing an incredible job, really, and better than anyone really could have expected. Or, I think if anyone expected this, then, you would have been questioning the sanity over the summer, because it's just been incredible. So, yeah, I think we are looking at an elite level coach, and I think he will want to continue proving that over the remainder of this season. And if he does, then there's got to be silverware at the end of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. He's just getting so much out of so many players. And this is, in a great way, again, there's so many candidates. I've got a feeling who you might plump for, but we'll see. Man of the match for you?
To be honest, I think this is really, I think it's tough, because I honestly, when I was doing my kind of post-match yesterday, I thought there was absolutely nobody who played poorly across the pitch for Liverpool. I thought man for man, absolutely incredible. But I think if you are to pick out a man of the match, I would probably go with Mo Salah. He gets a goal and an assist in a 2-0 win, and you've probably got to give a nod to that. For all the chances that Liverpool missed, and as Mo missed one himself, a pretty decent one, but that assist is out of this world. And if you are going to miss chances, you need someone to provide the cutting edge in one moment, and that through ball to Gakpo is absolutely that. How he even sees it and then executes it is unbelievable. And Gakpo literally has to do nothing else but to kind of run onto it, I guess. So it's that easy to put away, because Salah's done all the work there. So, and then the penalty, I think that is such a pressure moment. You've missed your last penalty in a big game. And that's only a few days earlier, and you're coming up against, it's in a point as well where if you'd have missed this penalty, that City's tails would have been up. They've managed to somehow hang in there, and they'll think maybe this is our day, and it only needs a lucky bounce for Haaland to put the ball in the back of the net. So there's so much pressure on it. And Ortega guesses the right way, but such is the quality of the penalty. It's basically on the inside of the side netting. And that, again, says everything about Salah in terms of quality and mentality. And he possesses both. And yeah, if you get those 2 goal contributions in a match like this, then I think it's hard pushed to say anybody else is the man of the match. But, he was very, very, very good in a crowded field of very good Liverpool players, because I thought, to a man, they were sensational, really.
Yeah, maybe the best collective team performance we've seen this season in a way. Just everyone was brilliant across the pitch. I suppose when we talk about Salah and his mentality, that eliteness, because I almost think he's almost above just a world-class level. He's in that elite, those handful of players you say in the candidates for the best in the world. Did it say everything that Manchester City are losing their heads at the referee, everyone else is cheering, and Mo Salah's doing kick-ups, waiting to take a penalty and just casually waiting? Does that say everything about the man?
Yeah, I guess if you're someone like that who can just deliver in these big moments, you probably don't get nervous so much anymore. And he's really experienced, isn't he? And I guess, I'm talking about the pressure of the penalty, but he's put away penalties in even more pressurized situations than that. I mean, you think about the one he bags for Egypt, that crucial one to get them to the World Cup, and moments like that where he's got an entire country kind of on his back there. And so he's used to these moments, and I guess that's why it doesn't faze him. Initially he's always had that kind of mentality, but then you build up this kind of back catalogue of delivering in those moments, and so probably makes it a bit easier. And I think that showed the kick-ups can sometimes be something as well to kind of distract himself and relax him and kind of calm him down, to bring your heart rate down and concentrate on something a little bit different. And then it clearly worked, because, as I say, the penalty was absolutely perfect, and that wrapped the game up. And I loved his celebration as well, in with the crowd. And yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a trademark this season. So yeah, absolutely brilliant contribution in that moment. But generally, his all-round game was fantastic.
Yeah, and to now be level with Wayne Rooney on the games where it's a goal and assist, and probably going to break that record for the end of the season. An absolute Premier League legend. The only thing I did want to play, just a small clip. He did talk after the game, and you probably know where this is going to be going. So let's see how this races.
Mo, talk us through that first goal. Hell of a ball for Cody.
Yeah, I'm a good player. So no, I think we train well to be in always. If you have the ball, the other side has to be in the second post. So I told Cody before the game, every time I have the ball, and if the chance for me to play the ball to you, I will play it for sure. So I give him a few balls this season, him and Lucho as well. So we train that ball in training. We managed to do it in the game. It's great.
How special are days like this? No, how special is Anfield when it's like this?
It's very special. I said before, I don't take it for granted. I'm enjoying every minute here. It feels like home. So yeah, it's a special feeling always scoring Anfield and win games.
Yeah, even more so at the moment. You've been fairly vocal about your own sort of future and situation. Do you enjoy it more because maybe it's, there's not maybe another City home game left?
Of course. Honestly, that was in my head. Like, this is my probably until now the last City game I play for Liverpool. So I'm just gonna enjoy it. The atmosphere was incredible. So I'm enjoying every second here. And hopefully we just win the league and see what will happen.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel horrible saying that as he says it, the last City game here at Anfield. And I know we talk about this contract so often. Sky Sports had a big debate on it. You may have seen it as well. Everyone talking about, should you give him what he wants and all this. It is disaster. They've just got to come to some compromise, like move the needle a little bit, haven't they, to keep Mo Salah at Anfield?
Yeah, but I also think that the compromise, clearly there's got to be some compromise from his side as well. And there's clearly, I think, on that evidence, a lot of willingness to get there. He doesn't want to leave. He's desperate to stay at Liverpool. And so, say he's got them up against the wall and maybe he's demanding 3 years. We don't know. He won't put those details out there, and neither will Liverpool. But, if he's asking for something contract length-wise that they don't want to go to, maybe that compromise has got to come from his side, or maybe it's Liverpool are being a bit unfair with the wages or whatever. But again, it's kind of both of them are heading towards the same situation here, in that he is desperate to stay and they surely can't think that they can afford to lose him. So, I know it's going to drag on with this one, and I think we've always said about this one that it's the most complex of the three. So, it's almost kind of, it's just one of those that they continue to butt heads over it, but the desperation on both sides to get this done is there. So that is a really, really good start in terms of contract negotiations, and they have to kind of get there. So yeah, let's see if they can.
Yeah, fingers crossed, because I know we want them to do it so badly. And another player, we talked about Mo Salah. Virgil van Dijk was up against Erling Haaland yesterday. He made him look ordinary, didn't he? Let's be honest. Virgil just showed yesterday he's an elite defender, the best in the world at the moment, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm not even surprised by this anymore, to be honest. I mean, I've seen Haaland come to Anfield and get bullied in that way multiple times now. I mean, as good as a player as he is and as good a goal scorer he is, he's not as good a centre forward as Virgil van Dijk is as good a centre half. I think Virgil van Dijk is so far ahead of every other centre half at the moment that it's not even a contest. Whereas I think there are other centre forwards you could say are maybe nearer to Haaland's level. And it's just a non-contest, really. I mean, any moment you thought there was even half a chance that Haaland was going to get near it, he just kind of snuffed it out. He matched him physically, won headers against him. Didn't look like he could beat him for pace. There was just no aspect to the game. His movement wasn't better. Virgil van Dijk was already all over him in that sense. So just no element where I was even slightly worried for a second about it, to be honest. He absolutely dominated. And as I said, we are watching the best centre half in the world at the moment. Again, that's more evidence Liverpool should get his contract wrapped up as well. But Virgil van Dijk is in conversations around sort of the best centre half of all time. That's kind of where we are. So just genuinely wasn't even slightly surprised with the way that he bullied him. And he was helped out a lot by the guy alongside him, Joe Gomez, as well. I thought they dovetailed really, really nicely to keep Haaland out of the game. So yeah, really, really good defensive performance overall.
Yeah, definitely in that conversation. As John P mentioned there, he had roughly double the XG of Haaland last night. He'll be a bit annoyed, Van Dijk, won't he? Because he misses the header. There's the one that hits the post. He probably, and the one in the second half where he kind of flicks it over. He'll probably be a bit annoyed he's not got on the score sheet, won't he, to be honest?
Yeah, I think the one he heads wide he'll be particularly annoyed about, because he gets over it. He's in kind of space on his own. He probably should have finished that one off, really. And then the one he hits the post with is just an unbelievable effort, really, to get it on target from there. And the keeper actually gets a couple of fingers on it and just manages to save it. So, but he's such a threat. And I think it was actually quite nice to see Liverpool looking threatening from set pieces, because I think in the Premier League they've maybe not clocked up as much threat in that aspect as they could, and they've looked better in that in the Champions League. So to bring that into Premier League games is really good, and I think again that's an area want to see a little bit of improvement for them, scoring more goals there. And they were just unlucky, really. It was fine margins yesterday not to get one, and Virgil will be disappointed. But if they keep putting those deliveries in and they keep working them in that way, I'm sure there's a few more set-piece goals coming, because City are quite a big side as well. So to create chances from those is, I think, really, really encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. As Helen Mattis mentions there, City didn't have a shot on goal in the first half. And as you said, Gomez played a part and Virgil van Dijk absolutely central to that, no doubt about it. And this player I did want to ask you about, because Dominic Szoboszlai, I don't want to say he's been uber criticised over recent weeks, but there's been a few question marks around maybe his output, shall we say. But I think it's important you do call these things out in the big games. He was brilliant yesterday all round, wasn't he?
Yeah, really, really good. I think he's been really good recently. I wanted him to come back into the starting 11 for this one. I think we said in the last podcast, I thought it would be absolutely perfect scenario to bring him back in, because he would run all over City's midfield. And that is absolutely what he did. I mean, he was everywhere, absolutely everywhere in this game. All of that pressing, he was a major part of that, and kind of setting the tone, and really, really aggressive, winning the ball. It's just his general defensive work in terms of winning duels. I think he wins 4 out of 6, wins a few tackles. But it was kind of his covering space as well. Whenever City looked like they might play through, he was always back to get the right side of the ball and slow them down. and yeah, just ran himself into the ground again, as he did at Southampton, where I thought he was fantastic. So great to see him come back in and do really well again. And I think people have just went a bit early on him for me this season in terms of, some of the ridiculously harsh judgments on him. Sometimes players are going to have little dips and they're going to be a bit up and down, and there's always, but it's a very, very good squad. And I think people should sometimes just keep the powder dry, because I think Szoboszlai's showing these last few weeks just how good he is. And it's not just that defensive aspect, which I think has been pretty consistent throughout the season, actually. It's that he's adding in the other side as well. I think he creates kind of 3-4 chances yesterday, gets a few shots away, one of which tests the keeper. So, he's giving you everything now. He's giving you both sides of the ball, which is exactly what you want from a number 8. So he's really, really dangerous creatively, but also covering off everything defensively. So that's absolutely perfect. Exactly what you want from him. And I thought, he, again, he's another one you kind of think was probably in contention for that man of the match shout, because he was so good. So, really, really good to see that. And, I think it's encouraging that there's probably more to come from him this season as well, because I think these last few weeks he has started to get even better. And if he can keep this level of performance up, then it's going to be a really interesting competition for that spot in midfield with, Curtis Jones there, Harvey Elliott coming back. They can both play that advanced role. Slott's got one of those really, really good headaches to consider.
Yeah. And in a great way, he's creating the headaches, because it's almost a supporting cast. I can't remember a time when we looked at pretty much the entire squad and everyone's form trajectory was just heading upwards. Everyone seems to be sort of getting better and being a real contributor. And it almost feels bad to ask this, because you're almost going to leave people out by default. As much as we mentioned Salah, Van Dijk, Gomez there, Szoboszlai, anyone else you thought really stood out for you, even if it was moments from the supporting cast yesterday?
I genuinely, you think about some of the players we've spoken through there, but you kind of miss. We're not speaking about. We haven't spoken about Trent and some of the passes he played, and particularly in that first half. I know he tires towards the end, but he makes that first goal, doesn't he? Puts Salah in for that one, but there's another one he plays that's outrageous. His defending was really good again up until Doku comes on, and he's tired at that point. You can tell, but he does really well otherwise, and really battles down in that position, and then Gravenberch, absolutely stupid performance again from him, ridiculous. I thought Robertson down that left-hand side of defence, really, really solid. Yeah. I thought he was quietly brilliant against Real Madrid as well. I know he gives away the penalty, but I thought he was very good in that game as well. And then my concern after that was, okay, you've got another game here where he has to do it again. Tsimikas isn't there. It's against a really good standard of team. And I thought Robertson didn't put a foot wrong again. Really, really good. So, yeah, it was literally, I think, from 1 to 11, genuinely brilliant in the subs as well. So just one of those rare days you come away thinking that literally everybody who took to the pitch in a red shirt was basically perfect. And yeah, that's why Liverpool won and deserved to win more handsomely than they did in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. We like you said, we could just go on like Gakpo's goal, McAllister, brilliant again after everyone was really contributing. It sounds strange in a 2-0, but we absolutely battered them. And there is one man I wanted to ask you about, because you probably saw the gestures, you saw the things you heard the things are being chanted in the ground like me. I just want to play you the short clip from Pep and get your thoughts on this one, because this was pretty much quite conference after the game.
Listen, I'm so proud of my 6 Premier Leagues against that team in the previous teams. I'm so sorry. I didn't expect Anfield with 0-2 start to chant be sacked. Maybe I deserve to be sacked, honestly. With the results, maybe I'm still in job because we won 6 Premier Leagues, a lot of titles. Otherwise, the hierarchy maybe we think, oh, it doesn't work. Yeah. But I didn't expect with 0-2 start to sing. We should sing maybe with 0-1 when the game was a little bit tighter, or maybe last season, the previous season. But maybe in Brighton that they did it, so I understand. But Anfield, I didn't expect that. But it's fine. So it's what it is. At the end, it's part of the game. When you win, you laugh. When you lose, they laugh. And I have to accept it. Have been incredible battles. I said many times. The time with Jurgen was unforgettable for me. Unforgettable. And the battles with Liverpool always have been forever. And I know even winning for a little margin in the Premier Leagues, the team was amazing and they could happen, but unfortunately we were so resistant, so commitment, so strong mentally in our best premiums, and it helped us to do something magnificent that now this season will be so difficult to repeat for many times I said, but I'm pretty sure the club, all of us will reflect and try to come strong, and will happen next Wednesday with our fans in Etihad.
An interesting one, because so much was made of the hand gestures, the talking afters, the reaction, and obviously there's been a lot of focus on him this week, naturally. What did you make of his actions, comments, everything yesterday?
Yeah, I thought the hand gestures thing was great. That that's absolutely fine by me. I want to kind of see that, he's taking the joke, he's having a laugh, and he's kind of giving a bit back, and that's absolutely fine. I did think the press conference comments were it's a bit much. It was almost like he didn't take it as a joke with what he said, and you kind of like, well, yeah, surely the fun part of it when you were watching that happening, it was just on the touchline down, near the press box, so I could see a bit of that going on. You just thought it was a bit of back and forth, and he's having a laugh about it. That's great, and taking it in good spirits, and the fans are giving him a bit back, and fantastic. But yeah, like I say, I thought the post-match comments were just bizarre, really, as if he couldn't take the joke and saying, I didn't expect that from Anfield. But that's what Anfield's about, is having a bit of a laugh about it and taking the mick out of opposition players and fans, and I just, as if he was kind of suggesting it was small time to say that. So yeah, I didn't really get his comments post-match, and it kind of took the shine off what I thought was a good and funny moment, really. And clearly his head's just a little bit chocker at the moment because they're losing games left, right, and centre, and probably it's harder to take a joke when you're in that situation. But yeah, it was a bit of a strange one, I thought. Yeah,
it at the first you're thinking he's applauding it. The 5, yeah, fair enough. Stuff's been given. He's giving it back. Everyone's happy, but. Yeah, very, very strange comments and reactions afterwards in that press conference. No two ways about it. But more importantly, back to us. The only downside is the injury updates that we got from Arne Slot. So just a short one that he talked about it afterwards, but doesn't sound like we'll be expecting a few players back too soon.
We'll be out for a few weeks. And I've said many times before, it's always difficult to judge how many weeks this exactly is, because you can think in the beginning, it's probably going to be like this, and then the end stage of an injury process can always differ a bit. So, but they will not be in the team this week for sure, both of them. And actually, I don't think Costas will be with us in the upcoming week as well. So, these players that we have available now, it's a big. It's important for them now, even more than normally, for them to stay fit. And that's also why I took Trent off after 70 minutes.
Yeah, it's the one area of the squad that's just starting to look a little bit stretched is the defence, isn't it? I mean, the fact that Jarell Quansah comes on at right back, and he did a good job, to be fair to him as well. It is now the one area we really can't afford another one, can we?
Yeah, because it just denies you sort of rotation options. I mean, you think about that League Cup game that's coming up on the horizon, and you start to think, well, what actually can we do in terms of giving people a rest in defence? And it becomes a little bit difficult in there. So that is quite unfortunate. But I think you've got to kind of, in these situations, I think that the way to look at it really is, and the way I always kind of think about it is, you've got to try and find the upside, which is that, someone lands on Canate and he twists his knee. Now that could have been so much worse. And I don't, it's, you're talking about weeks now, and I would say I wouldn't rule him out being part of something in December just yet. It's one of those, you've got to kind of see how it develops. I don't think anything's concrete around that just yet. So you've got to kind of see how that develops, but weeks instead of kind of months is great. Is great, to lose such a good player for a long time, which you could absolutely have done when you get sustained some ligament damage. You've got to take that. And Costas, it's one of those. It happens again. The way that Slot's talking about him, it sounds like, okay, maybe he's going to mix the next 2 after this, but maybe after that he's kind of in and around it, which will be fantastic to get him back. So Liverpool have got to kind of just muddle through this period, and it is going to be tricky because you're losing, as I say, those rotational options and the ability to change things up from game to game. But, I don't think people should be concerned in terms of it's going to result in a sudden dip in results or anything like that, because, let's not underestimate the quality that Liverpool have got coming in and what the teams that they are able to name at the moment. I mean, we spoke about Joe Gomez coming in there, and I sort of said when the Canate news kind of broke that he was going to be out, that, Liverpool have got two very good backups there in Jarell Quansah. And I remember some guy kind of quote tweeting me like, "Oh, yeah, we've got great quality." And it's like, well, yeah. And Man City just came up to Anfield there, couldn't get a kick off Joe Gomez. Jarell Quansah comes on at right back, which is not his position, and looks very, very good. They are two unbelievable players who anybody in the league would love to have, and they are more than capable of sustaining Liverpool's levels. So I think sometimes maybe some supporters kind of underestimate what Liverpool have got and the strength of the squad. And it is a shame they have got a few injuries in one position, but the players that are coming in, if they can keep them as fresh as possible in the recovery spot on, then there's absolutely no questions over the quality level there. So I think people should be confident. And as I say, you've just got to take the upsides, which is that both these injuries aren't too bad. So that's the good news, I guess.
Yeah, and like you say, we need a bit of luck, but hopefully we can just muddle through this period. And a few people have asked me about this. It would be remiss of me not to ask you the question. Chiesa, Jota, Alisson, are we expecting there's hope for them in the Newcastle or the Derby squad possibly?
Yeah, so I think Chiesa's pretty close. I think he might have a shout. And I think the other two, from the last I kind of heard about it, this week was kind of the target, and so should be in and around it. So I wouldn't be surprised if all three featured at some point this week or would return to the squad this week, unless there's been a setback that I haven't heard about or been told about. So fingers crossed there's nothing like that. So, that again, with the injury situation, is that you could get the boost of getting those three back. Elliott's now back and did get on the pitch against Manchester City, so that's great. So things are starting to clear up. It's just that slight defensive concern. But to get three players of that quality back, and I think to get the attackers back is good as well, because it allows you to it can really mix things up in terms of what you do. You can go with, as he did in the early round of the League Cup against West Ham, with the four attackers and give a couple of midfielders the night off. So that's an option to him there. So I think that's really good news. And obviously Alisson coming back, he's going to have to fight for his shirt back, but it's a boost. And Jota there. So I think things are starting to clear up and it's starting to look better. So there is some good injury news on the horizon. As I say, there's hope that those three players will all be involved at some point this week.
Yeah, we just fingers crossed, because we need that bit of luck. You forget how much injuries play a part in the title picture and everything that you're chasing. So yeah, fingers crossed for all that. And this one I wanted to ask you about, because we are literally now, we said we discuss it probably again, it still sounds scary to say this, within a month's time, Trent, Virgil and Salah could all sign pre-contract agreements with an overseas club. That's just a fact. And I remember it was going back to September a while ago when we first really brought this as a reoccurring theme. I know you were clear that no one should be worried about it too much. There's bigger things we shouldn't be worried. But if it got towards Christmas time and there wasn't a resolution or something with a couple, you could understand why fans would start to be worried. Are you sensing within the fan base, and from what you're being asked, as you mentioned, on social media, Blue Sky, Twitter, wherever it will be, do you think those fears are starting to grow for a few people?
Yeah, I think it's really helpful that Liverpool are in the position that they are, so that it's not being spoken about as much as it might do if they were kind of further down the table and struggling. So that's kind of helpful in toning it down a little bit. But I get that people are getting concerned now. I think the one thing I would say about the ability to speak to other clubs, and I think this is something that's become clear to me now that maybe wasn't in September, is that it's quite obvious that Van Dijk and Salah do not want to go anywhere. So as much as they could talk to other clubs, they probably don't want to, because they want to stay and they want to get that sorted. So I don't think that's a concern. And I think similar with Trent. Look, if he was thinking about going to Real Madrid and it is an option for him, the fact is, do you not think that Real Madrid had approached him by now anyway and had a word in his ear about what they would offer? So I guess it kind of takes some of the significance away from January. But the fact is, the sooner these get wrapped up, the better. And that, that's what we all want to see. And to just get one over the line would feel like, significant, because it would just take the pressure off the other two. And I think of the three, I've always felt like Salah's will get done last. So I think if you can get one of the other two just over the line now and start to kind of move towards getting Salah done, that would be fantastic. But I've been consistent about this. These things get done and then they get announced on the website that day. It's so quick, and I used to work in that environment where it was literally turned around that quickly. So we could be closer than ever to a breakthrough and not kind of know it. And the fact is, it could get announced tomorrow. So, I don't know. I personally find it hard to worry about these things, particularly when there's so much football to concentrate on. And I don't know. I'm not dominated as much by fears of, well, what if this success isn't sustained? It's more about, can they win the league this season? Can they win the Champions League this season? How are things going in terms of that? So, and the fact is, we can't affect these things as well. And so, you might as well not worry about it, really. And I think all the things, all the ingredients are there in terms of Van Dijk and Salah have both said they definitely want to stay. Liverpool want them to stay. The only doubt over Trent is maybe he might want to try Real Madrid, but I still think he wants to stay as well. So that's a really good starting point to kind of get you there if that both parties want it to happen. So, the longer it goes on, the more kind of annoying and frustrating it is. But as I say, we could be on the brink of a breakthrough with a couple here and not know it. So, I think silence is nothing to read into.
Yeah, let's hope that's the case. It would be a great Christmas present to get those three done, wouldn't it? Absolutely brilliant. And you kind of mentioned it there. I mean, the month coming up is absolutely insane. Having just beaten Manchester City, I mean, look at this. We go Newcastle Wednesday, the derby, such a quick turnaround. So just focusing on this week and Newcastle specifically, are you expecting a number of changes? Are you expecting Arne Slot to do his normal thing, one or two? Because there is a lot of games and there's a derby on Saturday as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to approach it the same way he always does in terms of rotation, is that not thinking about Everton whatsoever. It's all about what shape the players are in after Sunday and the amount of work they got through there. And he does have options that he can change things up. I mean, you've got, for example, Núñez should be fresh because he didn't start this one, and you'd be absolutely happy to see him in the starting 11 for this one. Curtis Jones sits on the bench, so he's available to come straight back in, and he adds so much in terms of legs and quality and control in that central area. So you've got that option there. If you did need to change things in defence, Jarell Quansah is there. Trent Alexander-Arnold only played 70 minutes and he's missed a few games. So again, he should be fresh to do both these games back to back. So it's not that dire, really. I mean, the one area I'd be kind of worried about is left back and what they're going to have to do to Andy Robertson this month. Yeah. But, aside from that, Liverpool are in pretty good shape. And, I know this is kind of one of those games as well that's highlighted by Arsenal fans as a game where, this is where Liverpool will start to slip up. This is going to prove to be an issue for them. But also, you look at Liverpool's results so far and performances so far this season. And also, I would maintain and remind Arsenal fans, you are allowed to win these big games as well, these tough away games. You don't have to lose them or struggle in them. So, and I know Newcastle have been good at home so far this season, but the fact is they drew with Man City. We know that result's slightly less impressive now, and they did beat Arsenal, but their form this is starting to kind of taper away recently, so they don't look as scary a prospect as they did early in the season. And sometimes in seasons, it is a little bit about timing. I suspect we will look back at the end of the season and say, if we'd have played Nottingham Forest later in the season, that would have been a much better draw than them kind of catching us cold and kind of not having a good idea of how they were going to play. So, sometimes it's just about timing, and maybe the timing for this one is working in Liverpool's favour. And I just don't think they should be going to Newcastle with any fears, because the record against them under Eddie Howe, or just generally, is really, really good. They're in unbelievable form. Newcastle are wobbling a little bit. So real opportunity to go there and kind of keep the good results coming. And it is, it's a tough test because it's a Wednesday night. I'm sure the atmosphere will be very good, and they have got very good players when they're on it. But I just don't think Liverpool should be fearing anyone with the way that they're playing at the moment. And Newcastle are as good a side as they are, as much as I respect them. They're not Real Madrid. So, why not go there and feel that you can dominate the game and win it and keep the good form going, and also prove to Arsenal fans that it is, as I say, possible to actually win one of these tough games when you come up against them.
Yeah, and not be heading to the corner flag at the 70th minute trying to protect anything. So, yeah, absolutely. And what I did want to ask you, because I mean, they are two tough games. We know that the derby is just different. It means something special. And a few people were talking about this at the ground yesterday. If it was offered to you right now, no injuries, but 4 points off those two, would you take it?
4 points from these two next games?
Yeah, no injuries either.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes to the point that Liverpool get a point away at Newcastle and then kind of beat Everton, I don't think you'd be looking at it as a disaster. And we do have to remember that Liverpool probably won't win every game between now and the end of the season. Yeah. So drop points have got to pop up somewhere, and it wouldn't be a disastrous result, particularly, as you say, if they came away with no injuries. But I just don't think Liverpool will be looking at it like that. I just think, you know, they'll think with their form and the form of these two teams that they're coming up against, why wouldn't they go and win these? And they're absolutely capable of doing so. And, you know, again, with Everton, we think of that as a really tough game, because obviously Everton really do get up for it and showed last season how difficult it is for Liverpool to go there. But I do also think that was kind of a little bit of a blind spot for Klopp, and something he kind of struggled with going to Goodison Park. And you know, he was kind of similar at Old Trafford, really. And Arne Slot turned up there for the first time this season and absolutely wiped the floor with them. So maybe there's a gain there for Liverpool, and something Slot can approach this slightly different, maybe playing slightly less emotional, physical football, and getting, you know, ultimately getting overpowered by a powerful Everton side. Maybe you can go there and be more relaxed and cerebral and try and kind of take them apart and just show Liverpool's quality. So I see that as a real opportunity for him, really. And like I said, I just don't think Liverpool will be going into either of these games thinking anything but we should be winning both of these. And you know, maybe they won't end up with that, and we could sit here after, as you say, 4 points or maybe even 3 points if something goes wrong, and say, okay, it's not the worst thing that's happened in the world. But yeah, it won't be Liverpool's aim going into it. They'll think that they can win them, and I think they can win them as well.
Yeah, no doubts about it at all. There will be fascinating watches. And the final thing I wanted to ask you about December, because everyone's naturally casting their eye a bit ahead, which Arne Slot will not be doing, the Liverpool squad will not be doing, but it's natural that fans do at the same time. When you look at the sort of fixtures, and there is some tough ones in there, do you look at ones like Girona and Southampton, as in Champions League? We've already pretty much qualified, haven't we? We've got a perfect record. Southampton, it is the Carabao Cup, where we all love the days out at Wembley, and it is about pots for the club. But do you look at those two, as a few are starting to, and say that might be the one where Endo starts, Morton starts, full rotation for those two? As someone, I think, phrased it wisely yesterday, almost circuit breakers in the month.
Yeah, I think as a starting point to talk about that Southampton one, I think that has to be full rotation. I don't want to see anything close to kind of strong team there. And I know, look, you're in the latter stages of a cup competition and you start to smell Wembley and get that chance. But I just think it doesn't matter if Liverpool lose that game, quite frankly. And I think great if they can win it, but they have to win it with a kind of scratch side out there. And I do want to see Endo in there. I do want to see Tyler Morton. They have to be involved in that game, because there's just too much at stake now. And Liverpool have given themselves such an opportunity that you don't want to waste, and you don't want to be picking up injuries in these games. So I would love to see full rotation in that one, to the degree that we saw against Brighton. And then we did see also that team was good enough to beat Brighton. So that's really encouraging. And I also say with that one, there's chances for like Harvey Elliott to get minutes. Diogo Jota hopefully can be involved in that one. Chiesa as well. So that's something to look forward to, really, is a chance to rotate. And if you lose, so be it. But we'll see how that plays out. And then Girona, I kind of think that won't be the same in terms of the level of rotation. I think he will take it seriously, because, look, if Liverpool win that, they're through in the top 8. That's guaranteed. And then the 2 games the other side of Christmas, they literally could treat them as League Cup games. So, maybe less rotation for that. But there's a chance to make changes in them. You wouldn't mind seeing Endo in as part of the kind of first team, would you, at all, in that sort of game where Liverpool don't necessarily have to dominate in that way, and they can just have someone in there who breaks the play up. So I think there's an opportunity to make some changes, even if it won't be kind of wholesale changes for that one. But I think Slot has got to, particularly when you look at some of the issues he's got in defence in terms of opportunities to rotate, he's got to take those chances whenever they come up, and they are rare opportunities where he could maybe change things up a little bit. So I do hope he takes them, because again, I know Liverpool are playing a less kind of intense style of football this season generally, and that should help them. But also, it's such a drain when you start to get injuries and they pile up. So they've really got to guard against that as much as they can.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be fascinating to see what he does in those few fixtures. No two ways about it. And the final thing I wanted to ask you is, normally we go wider football and talk a bit, and it relates back to Liverpool. I've seen many tweets about this, and funnily enough, it was something I know that you talked about around 3 weeks ago or so. I mean, Andrew Beasley, shout out to him. He put the last 38 games table up, and Liverpool are top of that. I know you commented that people are maybe losing track, especially Arsenal fans, a little bit, like what pace they have to go at to hit like 90 points or more, like what that actually means per game. And like, they've never done it before, and they almost need to break a record and go at 99-point pace. People are starting to tweet that. Do you think people are sort of just kind of waking up to overthrow us? These teams have got to go at breakneck speed and have got no wiggle room now, have they?
Yeah, I still don't think people understand it. It's not kind of arrogance to say, I'm not saying Arsenal are completely out of the title race or it's impossible that they win it. I do think that's true of Manchester City, because 11 points is too much. And I think just look at how they're playing. They aren't playing well at all. They will lose more games. So I can confidently say they are out of it. I don't think it's stupid to say that. But with Arsenal, I'm not saying that they're out of it, but I don't think that some people kind of understand the size of the task that's ahead of them. So if the winning total is 90 points, as you say, Arsenal from here have got to go at 100-point pace or 99-point pace. This is a team that has never broken 90 points ever. They've got to suddenly, for 25 games, play like a team that collects 100 points over a season. Can anybody see that happening? Liverpool, meanwhile, to get 90 points, would have to go at 84 points-ish pace, 84, 85, which, would be a reduction on what they're going at the moment. They could kind of take the foot off the gas a little bit and get there. So what Arsenal, I guess, are relying on really is that the winning total is less than kind of 90. But again, if that's the case, the pace that Liverpool have to go at drops again. It drops even lower down and makes things far easier for them. And so, people think that a 9-point gap can kind of close very quickly, and it can. But the argument is that it can close and then expand again, because asking Arsenal to win all the games to close the gap up, then you've closed the gap. That's great. Liverpool have had a little wobble and you've closed the gap. You have to keep winning after that to stay ahead of Liverpool. And you have to then match their results or do better than their results once you've matched that up. So I don't think people conceive it. It's not questioning Arsenal's quality. And I have no doubts whatsoever they can go on a run of winning 10 games on the bounce. They're absolutely brilliant. They've got all the players back now and they look formidable against West Ham. But it's just, it's the case of they have to do so much more than they've ever done. And once a gap opens up of this size, and maybe they've been a bit unlucky and a bit of variance has gone in Liverpool's favour to make it 9 points, but it's hugely significant once it does, and it makes it so difficult to kind of overturn it. You're so reliant on Liverpool not just having a wobble, but collapsing really. So, I think people should be slightly more confident really about Liverpool's position and maybe a little bit more sceptical on what Arsenal can do about it, because it's not saying they're a poor side that they can't close up a 9-point gap. It's just the reality and the mathematics behind it that I don't think people sometimes conceive. Liverpool are in an unbelievable spot, and it also helps that they're flying at the moment, playing really well and absolutely deserve to be there. So a lot to be kind of encouraged about, and I think Arsenal fans should be a bit more concerned that they're not going to close that gap.
Yeah, I thought it was, there's a good few tweets kicking out, and I know you tweeted about it this morning, and there was a few good replies. As one guy said, I thought that was spot on. People also forget Arsenal have still got to come to Anfield. So even if we get a draw out of that, that means the net points they need on average expands as well. It's another game knocked off. So there is so much to look forward to. And I'll finish it on the final question, because we kind of talked about this last week and said, if we win this and how it goes, is it right to declare, and we can't really face away from it, is it right to declare Liverpool title favourites right now?
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it ties in completely with what we were just discussing there. Just purely on a maths perspective, they're huge favourites. I mean, I know Opta have got them at kind of 85% to win the title, and maybe that's a little bit tipping over the edge, but they're way above 50% in terms of the likelihood of that happening in my book. And I guess with the bookmakers as well, the odds on. And absolutely so, because it's not, you don't even have to conceive that they would keep this form up for the rest of the season. I don't think that. I don't think they're going to break 100 points. I think 90 is probably roughly the aim for them. But that gives them so much wiggle room to lose games and drop points here, there, and everywhere, and still be able to get there quite comfortably. So they've just put themselves in. And as I say, maybe it's a little bit of luck's gone in their favour, but they are also a very good side. So you combine the two, it gives you a 9-point lead. And it starts to get to the point where it's pretty unassailable. I mean, if at any point in the next couple of weeks that goes to 12, you're genuinely at a point where you're saying that the title race is over. That is genuinely the size of that lead. No matter how good Arsenal are, they'd have to be unprecedented levels to close that up. So, and still 9 is pretty close to that level already, by the way. So, huge title favourites. And, maybe I'm putting pressure on Liverpool by saying this, but I think if they don't win it from here, they'll be disappointed.
Yeah, people want to play it down, and it's understandable that Slot and the players are doing game at a time. They completely get that. It's the right mentality for them to have. But 9 points clear at this stage is absolute dreamland for us. There's no two ways about it. And it does look, unassailable's too strong at this time, as you said, but everything is looking in our favour. So fingers crossed this continues. And ladies and gents, let's just hope this feeling continues, because on the 2nd of December, it is a Monday afternoon, and doesn't everything just feel brilliant? All things LFC related. I'm sure you've rewatched the game about 64,000 times like me. I'm sure you've watched the clip where Van Dijk just takes it out the sky away from Haaland and gives him that nonchalant look. I'm sure you've watched Mo Salah's pass, and I've no doubt we'll all be watching for this Newcastle game on Wednesday night as well. So all it leaves me to say as ever is, David, for the time, the insight, all the answers, it is much appreciated.
Oh, thank you.
And ladies and gents, that was another Media